Hey everybody, welcome back to the 80s Slashers YouTube channel. In this video, I will be discussing and reviewing the film Slumber Party Massacre III. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the plot of the film, the setting, the kills, the nudity. We'll talk about the Blu-ray itself, and then I'll wrap it all up with some final thoughts. So first thing I'll discuss here, obviously, if you're familiar with this film, this is a film that came out in September of 1990. So technically, this is not an 80s slasher. But that's okay. Um, I'd like to think that this was either, filmed or at least the script was written in the 80s, probably 1989. So, I'm gonna include it here. But regardless, either way, I've already reviewed obviously part one. Just last month I reviewed part two, so now I'm gonna wrap up the trilogy here with part three. And yeah, and you know what? I'm glad I did because this was a good experience. I liked this film. We'll talk about it, but yeah, I this was definitely a good experience. Now, when I reviewed part two, I had a blast. I had a blast with this film. First, these were both first time watches. But yeah, part two was fun. And like I said, I thought it was good, but anyone who's seen this film knows that this is kind of the odd duck in this little franchise, this little trilogy. It's pretty different from the original, and I knew that going in, watching for the first time, that it was gonna be, kind of a weird film. Um, but it was all what was cool about it was, even though it's a weird one. It's like a direct sequel to the first film. It had some of the same characters. The story picked up from where the last one ended, and like it had some of the similar characters, and it went in some weird different directions for sure. But yeah, it was a direct sequel. Part three, however, this is I guess it's a standalone story within this franchise. There's all new characters, new story. Um, it doesn't capture any of the story elements from the original or the first two films. It's its own thing, which is cool. It's nice. It's kind of like a restart of the franchise, I guess. Um, but what it does have is it reverts back um, to the original film in terms of like the tone and the feel and the style of the film. And for me, that's great because the original, well, right here, the original Slumber Party Massacre. This is like my top five 80s slashers of all time. I love this film, and it's just because it's unique. It has this just there's not many slashers like this. It's just straight slashing and killing and gratuitous nudity. Like there's no mystery, there's no reveal. You know who the killer is. It starts off, he just starts killing people, and you just have to watch him try to kill people and the girls trying to survive the film. That's what it is. It's just very unique in its presentation. This one did that as well, but like I said, it added some supernatural stuff and some weird music, and it's great, but it's different. This goes back to this. This is straight up, stalking, hunting, killing. Um, just that tone and style from this original film. And that, like I said, for me, that works really well. That's what I like from these films. So as much as I like this, I kind of like the feel of this one. Yeah, so like I said, I'll get into all this exactly why I like this and everything. But before we do, let's just go ahead and let's just take a look at the plot. Okay, so this is gonna be a short description because really there's not a lot going on plot-wise for this film. Basically, it opens up on a beach, California beach, Los Angeles beach, and you see a group of friends, some guys and some girls playing beach volleyball. And they're having a good time. They're playing. The girls are talking about the boys, flirting. The guys are looking at the girls, flirting. They're all in like the guys are in their bathing suits, topless. The girls are in bikinis and bathing suits. It's just showing young people having a good time. A couple side characters come in. Some people that are introduced, like trying to pick up some of the girls, like kind of strangers. And there's like weird strangers like watching them doing some weird stuff. And so they're setting up all these these what do you want to call it? Like, misdirection, like who's gonna be the killer kind of thing. Like, so it's setting up these different angles, characters with maybe different motivations. And then once the volleyball game's over, they all pack up, and you're hearing some of the dialogue. We're gonna have a slumber party tonight, and all the girls are invited, and the boys are like, "Can we come?" And they're like, "No, no, no, you can't come." It's typical slumber party massacre setup. So then some of the girls separate. Some go their ways. Some get killed. They wander off and they get killed because maybe someone was watching them at the beach or whatnot. And then some of the other girls, some of the main girls, go to the house where the slumber party is happening, and they're preparing the house. And then there's more side characters coming in, creepy characters, like, oh, so they keep setting up all these. It could be these people. It could be these people. Um, and then the girls start showing up, and they start drinking and getting in their pajamas and their underwear and dancing and singing and having the typical fun slumber party behavior that these films are known for. And then, of course, the boys, they show up a little later, as usually in all these films. The guys show up, try to get into the party. Some of them get killed before they can get in, and eventually they all get together in this house, and then the killings start to happen within the house. And at first, they don't really, just like usual, they don't realize that people are getting killed. They start disappearing. They're like, "Oh, where'd they go? Where'd they go?" And then eventually it dawns on them that they're getting killed, and then there's like a little bit of a mystery of who's the killer, but that kind of gets dumped to the side, and we see who the killer is, and then it's just basically the rest of the film is the killer hunting, stalking the remaining women, and them trying to survive the film. And at the end, you have the big showdown between the killer and the remaining women, the strong female type. We'll talk about that, but yeah, that's it. That's the plot. Very similar plot to this film. In this film, we have basketball players. They're playing basketball. They're in the locker room. A fantastic shower scene. People get killed before they can get to the slumber party. They get killed, in the school. Whereas this one's volleyball, and before they get to the slumber party, they get killed like in the streets in their car and whatnot. Um, Very similar, same. Like I said, it follows the same kind of storyline. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's a very straightforward plot. There's no big twists or reveals. Like I said, like they try to have like a little mystery with some misdirection of who the killer may be. But yeah, that kind of gets dropped halfway through the film. But yeah, it's very similar to the original, just straight up hack and slash. That's the main event here. That's what you're watching here. And like I said, I love how it captures that tone. Like I said, besides the big difference, like I said, is that little mystery reveal for like the first half. Like I said, it's just like all of a sudden they just drop it. I guess it's supposed to be shocking or reveal, but it's not. It's just like it's almost like they're like, all right, here's our killer. Let's get on with the rest of the film. And then you watch the killer's perspective, and then you watch the girl, the slumber party attendees' perspectives, and it goes back and forth. And yeah, that's like the big difference, I guess, between this and the original film. Whereas in the original film, it's like the first scene you hear, the killer's name, Russ Thorne, and you see like the newspaper clipping, and you see his face, and he just start killing people. So they don't try to hide it at all in the original film. There's a little attempt here for a little bit, so which is fine. Now, honestly, this this film kind of just felt to me, it just feels like a late 80s slash early 90s version of the original film. Like I said, like the plot is similar, the tone, the feel, the style. It's that, yeah, like late 80s, early 90s version of the original film. It just has like the style, the clothing, the dialogue, the hairstyles. It's all just a little bit more cheesy. Just, simply due to the time that it was filmed. A lot of the neon colors, like the women are wearing like the pinks and like the early 90s style that you've seen in these films. Which is fine because it kind of makes it a product of this time, which is great. It just, I don't know, it fits nicely with this trilogy. Like these three films are just they flow really good together. They all feel like a Slumber Party Massacre film, if that makes sense. The only complaint that I'll make about the plot is that once we learn who the killer is, they try to inject like the killer's like backstory and like their like motivation, the motive of why they're doing what they're doing. And honestly, it was pretty thin. There was a couple scenes they just injected in here just to try to make it make sense, like I said, to provide a motivation. It wasn't needed. Um, it didn't add anything. It didn't hurt anything, but it didn't really add anything. Like in the original film, there was no motive. He escaped from prison and he just wanted to kill again. And that's fine. That works. That works in these films. But there was like this weird little backstory that like it didn't even make sense. Like I said, it was really thin. It just anyway. If I had a complaint, that's what it would be. It just they could have left that out. The film was like under an hour and a half already, so I guess they want to maybe beef it up so it's closer to an hour and a half and it's not like an hour and 10 minutes or something. So maybe that's what they were thinking. Um, but yeah, overall, for me, the plot worked really well. It's just like it just gave me that, like I said, that same feeling with the original. It's just straight up showing killing for the sake of killing, throwing some gratuitous nudity, throwing some kills. It's just I don't know. It just worked really well for me. I like the style of these films a lot. And and like every other film, these films are written and directed by women, which really shows, I think, that at the end, like yeah, they have the gratuitous nudity, but it's kind of tongue in cheek at this point. Even in the original, it's like it's tongue in cheek, like yeah, yeah, you guys want the gratuitous nudity here it is, enjoy it for what it is, and then they kind of take it away, but they always at the end, the message is like these women are strong. There's always more than one that survive at the end, and they team up and they outsmart and they outmuscle and they outfight um, the killer, and it's a good message. It shows because usually these women are portrayed as like weak, brainless, and like they need the men to help them survive. That's a happens a lot in these slasher films. But the men in this film get wiped out way easier than the women. So it's good to see that. It's a nice twist on the genre, and like I said, it's the women writers and directors who are driving the narrative of these films. And again, it's just something else that's unique to this little trilogy. So I really like it. I like that. So yeah, overall plot wise, pretty straightforward, not too elaborate, but that's what works for these films, and I really liked it. All right, let's move on and let's take a look at the setting. All right, so the setting for this film, this was shot and filmed in Los Angeles, California, and it was set there. That's where they weren't trying to hide it, and it feels like it, especially at the beginning. Like I said, the film opens on like a California beach, and they look all the women have like the a lot of blondes, with the neon bright bathing suit bikinis and driving the convertible. They all have convertibles. They're driving along the beach, and it feels like a summer afternoon in LA. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of the overall location. Now, besides that first beach scene, 'cause once we leave the beach, we don't go back. It's only like, I don't know, 5 minutes, not even. Um, and then there's also a couple of later in the film, there's a couple of random street shots at night. Some of the characters walking down the street. There's a little side quest near the end of the film. A couple characters go on like a quest to get some weapons and whatnot, get some help. And they're running around the streets of LA at night, and it's cool. I guess it could be anywhere, but you kind of get to see some of that. There's like a warehouse or like a construction site. So you get a little bit, but honestly, 85-90% of the film takes place in the house where the slumber party is being held. Um, and Honestly, that works because that's what these movies are about. They're, these are slumber party movies. Slumber parties take place in a house. So yeah, you get the setup to the film at the beach, and like I said, you get a couple places inside or outside of the house. But yeah, your the primary location is inside the house. Now, the house itself, it's all right. There's nothing fancy. It's not like a weird looking. It's your typical late 80s, early 90s type of house. It's not like a mansion or like it's a good sized house. Um, and it's used really well. They utilize it really well. Almost every part of the house, there's key moments, there's key scenes. We see stuff in the living room, in different bedrooms, various bedrooms, um, the bathroom, the kitchen, the down in the basement. We get stuff on the exterior, like the porch and the backyard and like the garage driveway area. Like you really experience the whole house. Like this whole film takes place there, but it's not just stationary. It moves all around, going up and down stairs. It's good. They capture it really well. And yeah, like I said, like a lot of the key moments take place in different rooms, so it does have a different feel. Like the key moments take place in the living room. There's a cool bathroom scene. There's a cool front yard, like the grass and the porch and everything. Like it's not a big setting, but they make the best of it. So yeah, I like I said, this is like a simple single location type of setting. Which usually that's not great. I like to see some different key moments like in these films. But for the Slumber Party Massacre films, I think it works just fine. And this is a great setting. I preferred the house in this over the house in part two seemed a little um I don't know, a little sterile. It didn't seem like it was lived in. And I think they even said that in the film it was like a new condo that the someone's parents had just bought the condo, and it was like wasn't even moved in. So it was like a lot of white walls. It wasn't warm. It wasn't inviting. This is someone's house. Someone's lived in. There's furniture. There's posters on the wall. There's food in the fridge. Like this just felt more just like the original film. It felt like a proper setting. Whereas this one, like I said, it was weird. This the whole film was kind of weird. But yeah, I don't know. I think, like I said, it's not really much to talk about for the setting. It is what it is, but it for what this type of film is, it works really well. I think so. Yeah, that's what I have for the setting. So let's move on, and we'll talk about the kills. All right, so Slumber Party Massacre 3 has a total of 8 kill scenes. More people die than 8, but there's 8 kill scenes that we get to kind of see, which that's a solid number for one of these films, I think. Um, and the kills are pretty great. I'll just say that they're pretty good. Um, of course, the main kills are, as these films like to do, is a big, huge power drill, um, which I love power drill kills, and like it's happened in a few other films, but again, this little trilogy, it's like one of the main events, the draw to these films is you get to see power drill kills, and they're always like brutal and like mean spirited and violent and visceral, and they kind of have like that like almost like a sexual tone because like the killer's like penetrating these women like in and out, and they're playing off that, and this film actually has some, what do you want to call it, like an innuendo of the killer is having some issues. Like the drill is acting as a fill-in for something he can't do otherwise, and they kind of, yeah, it's kind of like a little storyline in here. You'll see. So it works. So when the killer is making the kills, you see, yeah, it's just I don't know. There's something about these types of kills I really dig. However, unlike the original film and this one, I think, um, there is actually some more variety here. It's not just all power drill kills. We get to see there's a really fun kill. There's like a guy gets impaled with uh, a signpost. Like someone has like a house for sale on their front yard. So like the post gets pulled out of the grass, and the business end of the signpost impales someone, which is a great scene. There's like a bathtub. There's a bathtub electrocution. You know, when someone's in a bath, and typically in a movie you see someone with like a radio turned on, plugged into the wall, thrown into a bathtub, and zzz, someone gets electrocuted. Same thing is here, except instead of a instead of a radio that's plugged into the wall, apparently in 1990, um, vibrating dildos plugged into the wall. That's what was used. An electric vibrating dildo was turned on, so it was vibrating, plugged into the wall, and thrown into the bathtub and electrocuted someone. And it's a great scene because the person that's in the tub is behind like the shower curtain, so it's like the silhouette. So you see them kind of getting electrocuted behind the just the shad the black silhouette of the body. Great scene. Like I said, there's some really good variety in this film. Really like that. There's some stabbings, just like regular knife stabbings. But the majority of the kills are the power drill. So, but the fact that you get a couple of those extras, it's really good. I really like a little variety. It's not all the same thing, so definitely a nice mix used. In terms of the practical effects, yeah, there's no CGI. It's practical effects used. They're quick edits. There's nothing like, it's not like a Tom Savini effect where the camera stays on the open wound for like 10, 20 seconds. Nothing like that. You see a lot of like the drill penetrating and a lot of like blood splatter. So that's the big thing here. You see like, and I guess it's realistic. If was getting drilled, there'd be blood flying all over the place. So you get a lot of that, but there is some entry and exit wounds of the drill penetrating the bodies. Um, like I said, like the effects there's nothing over the top, but you get a little bit, and they're fine. They're at least they're there. There's an attempt made, and but like I said, like it's the blood gore that's really good in this. So again, because of the drill. So uh, when we get to the finale, it gets really bloody. Again, not a lot of practical effects, but the kills are violent, like just really brutal, like when you're dealing with this type of weapon. And yeah, the finale gets really bloody, and it's great. I really like it. It just ramps up at the end. At the end, there's people just like covered, like literally head to toe, just covered in blood splatter, and it's great. I love that. It's really good. So yeah, overall, the kills they're fine. They're really good. They're good variety, lots of blood. You get like I said, some practical effects, some guts showing up. There's like like when we talk about the Blu-ray. There's like a uncut version of this, and you get more of that. In the uncut version, some of like the camera kind of looks at the stomach as the guts are all hanging out and stuff. So there's a little bit of that kind of practical effects, but again, they're all pretty quick edits. But yeah, it doesn't live up to the original, but it's close. They're pretty good. So yeah, overall, I cannot complain about the kills at all in Slumber Party Massacre 3. I think they did a good job. All right, let's move on and talk about the nudity. All right, so this film has a total of three nude scenes. Um, there now there's besides the three nude scenes, there's all kinds of titillation the whole movie. Like I said, the beginning in the volleyball and the beach, all the women are in skimpy bikinis, bathing suits. The camera zooms in on their backsides and their cleavage, all that stuff. And then at the slumber party, they're all wearing like lingerie or nighties or some sort of pajamas. Again, they're all revealing. So the whole film, even when they're like being chased by the killer, they're in their underwear and their clothes are getting ripped and torn. So yeah, it's titillation from beginning to end. But there is three nude scenes that we get in here, and it's your typical insert gratuitous nudity for the people who want that. That's what they expect from these films, so they deliver. The most gratuitous of all is there's a scene near the beginning when the when the slumber party starts, and the girls, of course, are drinking and they're playing a game of truth or dare, and of course, one of the girls dares two other girls to like do a striptease for the other girls. So of course they do it, and they start like dancing and taking their clothes off, which is ridiculous. It's so all the girls are hooting and hollering, and they're like, yeah, they're stripping down to their underwear, they're taking their bras off. It's just, it's like it's just over the top gratuitous, and it's pretty long. You know, it's not as long or as gratuitous as the original shower scene in the original film, which is one of the best scenes of all time. Um, but it's up there. It's close, and it's good. So it's great. It really just sets the tone. Like, here's what you want, and they deliver it in full in that scene. After that, there's like a sex scene that's kind of it's pretty tame, but there is some nudity in there, um, which is pretty good. And then there's like a at the end there's like kind of like a rapey, uh, groping type of scene. It's kind of little it's yeah it's a little sleazy actually. It's you got it's because it's like the violence and like the rapey nudity. Um, yeah, so that's what you get in here. There's three scenes. Like I said, they delivered on what was expected. All the women in this film are absolutely beautiful. That late 80s, early 90s. They have that weird style, the hair. I kind of like that, because I was around at that time, and I was of that age when these women would have been very appealing to me in 1990. So, yeah, it is what it is. They did a good job, I think. So yeah, so that's it for the nudity. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Let's move on and we'll talk about this Blu-ray right quick. All right, so yeah, so as you can see, this is Screen Factory Blu-ray double pack. If you've seen my previous pickup video, you know what this is. This isn't an official Screen Factory release, but for all intent and purposes, it this is exactly what I have. So yeah, this is at a print. This is really hard to get. Um, Screen Factory, is it next month, is releasing a double feature, 4K of the original film and this, which is great. That's awesome. Unfortunately, this was getting left out, and before I was like, oh, I don't care about part three because I never seen it, didn't know what to expect. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, oh, I wish this was on four. I wish this was just getting, but all three of them were getting a 4K release. But yeah, so if you don't have this set already, it might be really hard to come by. Maybe they'll release it eventually on 4K or re-release this Blu-ray. I don't know. But yeah, this is a tricky one to find on Blu-ray if you don't have. This is really expensive. So yeah, it looks good. This Blu-ray looks fantastic. Both of these films. This I was surprised how good this looks. The colors, like this is a very bright film. Like a lot of vibrant colors. Like I said, it's that early 90s, the neons and whatnot, and the colors are all very vibrant and sharp. It looks great. It sounds great. Even with the 4K, I don't know how much better it could look, to be honest. This looks really good. So, if you can get your hands on a copy, this is definitely right now the best way to watch it. It looked like almost like a brand new movie. It was fantastic. Um, like I said before, there's two cuts of the film. There's an R-rated version and there's a uncut version. So that popped up on the menu. So I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna watch the uncut version, of course. I don't know if that was the best decision, but it's not like a minute or two longer. And like I said, the uncut version, the extra footage is like it's just like extra scenes of dialogue that wasn't necessary that they obviously cut out during the original theatrical or the original release. And then some of the kill scenes, there was some extra like gore. But the problem was when they went to those, it was poor quality footage, and so you could tell immediately as soon as they went to like the uncut footage, it was poor, it was lesser quality. Kind of takes you out of it a little bit, but it's not like long. They're like 5-10 second clips or whatever it is. And I don't know, like the extra dialogue wasn't needed. I could have done with that. The extra gore, like I said, it was so quick. It was like 2 or 3 seconds of the drill. I don't know. Is it worth it to take you out of the immersion of like the good quality? It's up to you. So if you ever get that chance, it's your decision. I feel like I probably should have watched the original because it's more consistent. It flows better, and you're not getting a ton of extra gore, just little bits. So yeah, there's that. And in terms of like special features, what do we have here? Um, yeah, so it says the original 75-minute R-rated version, an extended 87-minute. So it says it's 12 minutes. So a lot of that is dialogue. I'm telling you, there's a lot of the kills isn't too much, but yeah, and then you get a theatrical trailer and a still guy. So no special features. This one has like the Sleepless Nights, so it's kind of like the documentary. It's on the original Blu-ray for the original film, and on this, it's gonna be on the 4K release. It's just kind of a documentary on the trilogy. So if you get this set, you have that. So yeah, good Blu-ray. If you can find it, definitely pick it up. This is a great set. Fantastic. Two great films. They look amazing. It's just you can't get it anymore. So yeah, good luck if you can find it, but if you can, definitely pick it up. Definitely recommend it. All right, let's wrap this up with some final thoughts. All right, so yeah, I really liked this film. This actually exceeded my expectations quite a bit. I knew the original. Obviously, I knew the original is a classic. Everyone loves the original. Going into this one, I knew this was everyone's kind of like second favorite. I knew it was a weird, odd duck type film, but everyone's like, "Oh, Slumber Party Massacre 2 is awesome." And I never heard a lot about part three. So I just assumed, it's a 90s film. I just assumed that it was kind of like, and they didn't make it like a part four. So I just assumed that it was probably not good and kind of ended the franchise. But I'm wrong. I was wrong. I really liked this. I actually liked this better than part two. And I liked this. I thought this was a blast, but it's just because this captures the tone and feel of the original film. I just like that better than these weird things. Even though this is fun and unique, I feel like I could watch this more than I could watch this, just because it's a straight up hack and slash film. The original is the 1982 version, which has a distinct feel and tone, which is what I love. But this is the same film, but it's just the late 80s, early 90s version, so it has a little more cheese than that version. But it's still the same style, and I like this. I like these films. So yeah, this really exceeded my expectations. Um, I don't know, like it just kind of had it all for me. It had like, a serviceable, straightforward plot. It had an ideal setting for this type of film that utilized it really well. The kills were great, and some good variety, lots of blood effects. Had the gratuitous nudity that, check it off the list. It's expected, and they included it, and it's good. It's fun. Beautiful women. The acting was fine. Like, the dialogue was a little cheesy at time. Again, it's the product of that time, the early 90s. People talked different then, especially in Hollywood movies. But the acting wasn't bad. Like, they were fine actors, just the dialogue was a little cheesy. Um, and I, I don't know. It just had everything that I want out of these films. This trilogy, I'm telling you, I've for like my entire life, I had only ever seen this film, and it was always one of my favorites. I don't know why I had never gotten around to these. And then, like I said, like a month ago, I watched this for the first time, and I liked it. I had a blast. Different, but I liked it. And now a month later, I watched part three, and I really liked it. So this new trilogy is like becoming like this is like one of my favorite trilogies now. And I'm kind of surprised by it because I just always assumed that these were just like straight to DVD type, lower tier types of films like that. That's where I assumed that they fit, and they might be for many people, but I just like this style of 80s slasher. And all three of these films are great. So this is one of my new favorite trilogies. And I'm kind of shocked by it. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't see it coming, but I really like this film. If you don't mind the early 90s cheese, because it is there. Like yeah, it's different. It doesn't have the same. It makes it more jokey, I guess, than the original. But if you like that, if you were around in the 90s, if you were around in this time, um, it's kind of like it's kind of nostalgic. You kind of like laugh at it now. But yeah, what a solid trilogy of films. Absolutely love it. So yeah, if you can get your hands on this, check it out if you've never seen it. If you've seen it, if you can get this Blu-ray, it's a great experience. So yeah, that's my thoughts and review on Slumber Party Massacre 3 and the entire trilogy. Thumbs up, like fantastic, absolutely love it. All right, that's it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that, and until next time. All right, see ya.